The same wordless silence fills our short walk back to the school, except for when Luke gestures at a nearby flower shop and enters it without waiting for Kylie or I. He emerges minutes later carrying a bouquet of daffodils, the same softened expression back on his face. Unlike the previous ones, he tucked this one away almost as soon as he looked up at us, a, a moment he's not willing to share. In my confusion, he merely answers and shrugs and continues walking.
For someone important.
I accept it for what it is, only because he doesn't owe me an explanation. It does leave more questions about him, each one baffling as the previous one. Those are the last words spoken this evening before we head our own ways. Up until I arrive home, I still can't understand him. Here, however, is a whole different set of questions await me. As much as, and much like everything else today, it comes with the littlest of things. A lone note greets me upon reaching my unit's door. The edges flutter lightly against the faint, warm breeze as I pass through the small complex. My hand stops short of twisting the knob as I stare at it, and I don't make any moves to take it. Ashton's needs script on the surface, lines the surface. Dropped out earlier, you weren't around. Any idea where Scaredy Cat is? I couldn't contact her. Inspector Abigail has a few questions. LPD stuff. Something about her dead co-worker anyway. Let me know if you two have how you two have been doing. See you later, Ash. The message she left is short and straight to the point, without the underlying hint of friendship. She's looking for Isabella, apparently. Something about LPD's investigation with her co-worker's death, but it ends on a formal tone by checking on me. Us. Any other day. The former part of the message would likely prod a piercing envy I've been holding, while the latter probably would have sent my heart aflutter. Little things from him that I want to mean something more. Yet this time, only guilt fills me, and my eyes briefly shift towards Isabella into you. Luke's word repeating inside my head as I do so.
For what it's worth, Rebecca, I didn't ever think that's all there is to you. Why else would I leave my own goddaughter in your care if you're just some lovesick woman?
Have I always been like this?
Yes, you have. This is this selfish? In truth, I intended to call Ash after that dinner, if I didn't catch him here. Invite him to the party like I planned. There's time, he's still probably awake around this hour, but my hands won't move. And perhaps it's for the better. Until I have time to think of it, to think this through, it'd be better to distance myself from those I've been clinging to too tightly. Find a different perspective and see things for what they are. With a soft sigh, I reach for the note, crumple it under my hand. The knob twists open with much ease as I enter it this time. Maybe after some introspection, it'll be easier. For tomorrow, I have that woman in the mansion to worry about. The night wears without any further incident, despite the great number of thoughts swimming inside my head. Come morning, there's only a hush, stained by a sort of stillness unlike the ones greeting me every morning. This one's uneasy. This one's uneasy, tight with anticipation, like a string stretched thin, merely waiting for the proper time to snap. Granted, it doesn't make my day any less pleasant, but the edge is there. As expected, the second I step out of my flat, it comes apart, broken by the voice of two squabbling adults, echoing from a floor below. The quiet was nice while it lasted. Shame.
What the hell were you thinking?
I wasn't. Ow! Could you let go?
Not a few seconds later, they were both ascending the stairs, Ashton pulling Isabella by her wrist. She struggles, as she should, but his hold remains firm. Freeing herself means having to draw blood, and she attempts to pry his hand off of her other one, or using unnecessary force to push herself away. neither of which is better than the other. One could potentially end in an accident, and the other one means having to hurt him physically. She has a good sense to realize that, at least. However, it doesn't take the desperate edge in her voice when she answers Ashton's temper with her own. So on they go, none the wiser to my
Do you have
presence.
any idea how much trouble you could get in?
That's why I'm asking you for help.
Is this what you've been doing these past 3 days? Because this doesn't make your case convincing, Isabella.
Rose died, Ash.
I know. Every single person in Luxburg knows. It's on the damn news. But that doesn't mean...
People are missing. Some of those are my friends. And BRC's just covering it all up.
You can't just barge into my office and expect me to do anything about it, right off the bat. This isn't a children's game, Isabella. We have procedures. We have to follow protocol. There's red tape all over this case for a reason. We sure as hell don't investigate things just because some stupid letter spooked us.
Ash, you have to believe me this time. If we don't do anything right now, more people will.
It's been a whole week. This stupid letter prank is getting old real fast. I'm sick of it. It was funny the first time, not so much now.
You're the only one that can help me with this, Ash. Even Rebecca won't.
All right, you two are awfully loud. What's going on here?
Both their heads snap up, almost in unison. A displeased frown on each of their faces, but this is a necessary interruption. What can they do? People still in their units will have already taken interest in the commotion, with some taking a peek behind their curtains, while others are bold enough to creak their doors open if only slightly. If they don't keep it down, pretty soon our landlady will show up. Getting reprimanded by her is the last thing I want to happen, first thing on a Friday morning, and even if this is hardly my fault.
If you want to continue this, you two better do it elsewhere. You're disturbing other people.
Don't worry, we're done here.
No, we aren't. Becca, I looked it up. I called them. I visited some of them, and...
Which you shouldn't have done in the first place. Isabella, you're going to create more problems for us with what you're doing. A team has already been assigned to it. Leave it to us.
Your precious team is looking at it the wrong way. Becca, it's not just Rose. There are others.
Yo, can we talk about this, like, inside of an apartment? Like, preferably one of ours? Because this is not the place to be discussing this. That last bit strikes a chord, prods strongly at a memory. At the vicious smile already etched deeply inside my mind. The image appears clear enough that the mere mention of it, I stumble on my own question.
What do you mean?
The letter, Rebecca! It's not...
It's nothing. If there's really something going on because of that dumb letter, none of us would be standing here. We've all read it, haven't we? But Rebecca's alive, Zach's alive, I'm alive. So for the last time, this isn't a curse. There's a murderer on the loose, and your coworkers happen to be the victims. Give it a rest, Isabella. It's too early for this shit.
Don't you think that's too much for a coincidence?
Not so much. Most serial killers follow a pattern. I'll tell you about it some other time. And anyway, coincidence or not, the point is, civilians like you aren't supposed to get involved. You're putting yourself in danger.
I wasn't chasing after...
Will the both of you slow down and stop arguing for a minute? What's this about your coworkers, Belle?
Becca, please don't tell me now you believe this shit.
Sure, in a heartbeat, I'll agree with Ashton. That's how it's always been. Besides having a very good point, really, they're the very same ones he'll make every time I ask too many questions. But the fact of the matter is, what he wants to hear from me right now is far from what I've been seeing and sensing for the past few days. It doesn't matter what Isabella or I believe on our own. Something odd has been happening around me, and that letter she picked up is the heart of it. Oh, I'm gonna tell the truth. Fuck this. We're telling the fucking truth, man. We're doing this. We're telling the truth. And how did this affect it? I don't fucking care if Ashton doesn't like it. It's the truth. We're fucking doing this. Belle's my girl. I'm backing her up. We've been seeing shit, and it's trying to kill me. Trying to kill me. Trying to kill me. Ashton in particular won't be happy to hear it. Imagine the look on his face doesn't take too much effort. His entire posture shifts the moment my reluctance showed. My shoulders tensing, brows furrowing, eyes gaining sharp edges. He's already bracing himself for the disappointment. And it will be disappointment. Not in a million years did I ever believe I'd be saying this either.
I might have seen her.
Twice. No, 3 times. We've seen her 3 times now.
The woman Belle's been telling us about. The one she said she saw in the attic.
Both of them stare at me like I've grown an extra head. And for a moment, Ashton looks as though he's about to have a fit. The pause treads at its heels after a silence thick enough. Alright. A pause treads at its heels after a silence thick enough. One can almost hear a pin drop.
You're kidding, right?
Does she look like she's fucking kidding?
Do I look like I'm joking?
See?
Really, Becca? Not funny.
Ash, I'm not lying. Why would I lie about this? It's been this way since the film fest. The past few days have been really odd since we read that letter.
Or maybe you're all just feeling under the weather.
I'm not sick. Don't you think I'd know that by now?
Becca, you're starting to sound like Scaredy Cat. Give me a break.
Why don't you?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, you two.
Isabella's voice cuts sharply through the conversation, abruptly putting an end to the brewing argument.
It's all my fault. This is all my fault. I was only hoping I could fix this before any of you. I'm sorry for dragging you all into this.
I'll just hug her already. She breathes in, a deep steadying, and at that moment, something falls behind her eyes, and she looks away.
I'll fix this. I promise.
A quiet resolve. The same one I saw in her the night from 3 days ago. But this time, it turns brighter. Even Ashton wavers at the sight. When she looks at him straight in the eye, gaze unflinching, gradually his grip on her wrist loosens.
Well, there's nothing to fix. The problem is...
Just this once, Ash.
Her voice is small and lacks any force to stop him. Along with it, every sound, every noise dies around us, hushed, descending as if the world is waiting for her words.
You don't have to come with me. But if I don't do anything, I am going to regret it.
She lays her hand atop his, gentle, pleading, almost intimate. If one does not consider the circumstances we found ourselves
Please.
in. Ashton will never tell a soul, will never admit even to himself, but in that short second, his own resolve breaks. The moment the hard edge in his eyes softens and he relinquishes his hold on her, letting her hand fall limply to his side. Wordlessly, Isabella steps back and runs off, leaving him only a mutter of thanks and a small, lackluster smile. Only after the last of her footsteps fade away does Ash move, breaking the silence with only one of his sharp exhales before reaching up to pinch his bridge of his nose, a gesture of frustration and surrender.
Did you really have to tell her that?
Yes, actually, I did have to tell her that.
What do you want to hear from me then? That everything's fine?
No, I want all of you to stop putting these ideas in her head. None of it is helping. Never mind. Don't worry about her. I'll bring her back here.
He's already poised to leave when my own instinct takes action. Reaching for him, I grip his elbow at the same unyielding grip, an action prompted by voices whispering in the back of my mind. He's already made it clear he's not going to believe me, but he deserves a word of caution. Who knows where all of this will take us, how it will end. He shouldn't be caught off guard, beliefs notwithstanding.
Ash, I know you don't believe in those things she's saying. And you know me. I'm less inclined to believe in those things as you do. But I've seen something. There's something strange going on here. You don't have to buy it. If you don't want to listen to me, fine. But please, try to hear her out. It's bad enough that Isabella goes off like this without telling anyone. I'm just worried something might happen to her if she keeps at it. Talk to her, okay?
As if she trusts me enough for that.
Doesn't the fact that she approached you first about this, instead of me, already say a lot?
A different kind of trust. Granted implicitly and never spoken, sometimes too big, too fragile to last. He falls silent for a long moment and he turns it over in his mind. In the end, all he manages to offer is a small nod before he departs, and a promise to at least hear her out without teasing or the jibes. A favor for me, at least he could do for her, and at least he could do for her. This is as much as I can do for him as well, until I've understood what's happening myself. Tonight, hopefully where all this started will provide all the answers I'm looking for. Except the whole thing's off to a bad start all of a sudden. Whatever Isabel claims is dwelling in this mansion becomes the least of my concerns. Of all the cabbies in Luxmorn, I happen to chance upon the superstitious one. It's not as bad as finding out your car's starter refused to crank on. Still not as bad as finding out your car's starter refused to crank on when was still working this morning, yes. But it's equally as frustrating when you're forced to walk the rest of the way. All because the driver got spooked. Isabel and him would get along so well. I do get his reasons. After all, I've had my fair taste of Bizarre lately. All of which might have been brought about by the letter Isabel found here. But you think he'd at least be charitable enough to take me a little closer to the house itself, not a distance of 15 minutes away by foot. Good thing I'm not wearing anything too formal or constricting. Otherwise, that short walk could have likely put me in a bad mood. Long before I'd have to suffer a room full of strangers. Although, this soon proves to be a problem. Problem the second the driveway comes into view and I near the entrance. Severely underdressed and is total understatement to describe how I look. Cars worth more than my own apartment and childhood home combined line the mansion's front yard. Men and women decked out in their best also flock to the entrance. Most are eager for the festivities to start, while some are simply idling about, enjoying the warm afternoon sun before it sets. Once the woman standing by the front porch speaks, their individual attention immediately shifts to her. Presumably Miss Wright, from the confident manner she holds herself amongst the present company. This despite keeping a far simpler appearance than her own guest, but not having her husband at her side. A trait worthy of the utmost admiration at best. At worst, she's the envy of every woman and the subject of every gossip in Luxmorn.
Welcome everyone.
And Mum said we could have been good friends. I can't even picture myself mingling with these kind of guests she has. Although I admit she does seem familiar now that I've seen her like this. Memories sitting on in a vanity, not mine. Being dressed in clothes too fancy for my taste. They flit briefly in my mind, but her cheerful tone rises above the buzz of the enraptured audience again.
Please make yourselves at home.
I wish I could share her enthusiasm, really. And being surrounded by all this extravagance, for a lack of a better term, merely makes me dread how the rest of the night will go. I shouldn't let Luke's words affect me like that. I should have just gone ahead and asked Ashton like I play. If he were here, then I won't have to.
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
The rest of the thought dies on my mind at once. A moment of astonishment overcomes me before the confusion sets in later. It takes another for my body to catch up. Once it does, I finally turn and see for myself. It's a familiar mop hair catches my eye first. And there he is, almost an arm's reach if it isn't for the guest standing between us. Ashton Frey sitting at the Armengard Mansion driveway with an air too lackadaisical for someone who's obviously abhors parties of any forms. Or has any business here as far as I know. The picture it forms is too bizarre for me that my mouth speaks out ahead of my coherent thoughts.
Ashton?
He swivels on his heels with an equally puzzled face. An odd expression flashes the moment momentarily across Alright. An odd expression flashes momentarily across it once he sees me. Though he blinks it away before I can figure out what exactly
Becca?
it is.
What are you doing here?
I was invited.
Really? I had no idea you were friends with the host.
Well, it's my parents, actually. But that's beside the point. What are you doing here? You hate parties.
I still do. I'm just here on behalf of a friend.
That in itself is weird coming from him. It doesn't help that he isn't even making an effort to spare a glance my way when he answers. Instead, he's focused at some point in the crowd. His gaze darts between people walking past us until a small frown frowns on his face.
That's
a frown
rare.
forms on his face.
Do you have someone with you then?
Nope, just me. I won't be staying long.
Well, if that's the case, maybe you and I.
Chief?
Ashton, what's.
Unexpectedly, he places a hand on my shoulder and stops me mid-sentence. He's still standing in the He still has a distracted look on him, except this time his eyes are sharper, as if he's found what who he's been searching for among the partygoers as well.
Sorry, Becca. I need to... There's something I need to check for a bit. I'll talk to you later. Do you have a ride home?
No, I had to take a cab here. My car wouldn't start this afternoon. But what about.
I told you to get that old thing checked before, didn't I? You can head back with me after this. Anyway, I gotta go. See ya.
Didn't mean to skip through that, but he said be careful, I'm pretty sure. I meet the smile he hastily throws my way with a frown of my own. What does he mean by that? Before I can ask, already he's turned his back from me and is walking away without a single explanation whatsoever. In some desperate effort. Stupid thunderstorm. My roof doesn't seem like it's leaking right now. In some desperate effort, I try to catch up to him, if only to know what's warranted by his sudden departure and his odd warning at the end.
Hey, be careful! About what exact.
Only for my attempts to be interrupted by a muffled ringing in my pocket. Mom's cheerful voice greets me as soon as I answer.
Yes, I'm at the party already, Mom. Yes, I'll say hi to her if I can.
The conversation itself doesn't last long. It's a simple hello and a reminder to enjoy the party and send her regards to their old student. But when the call ends, I get to look up. Ashton's already nowhere in sight. With a sigh, admittedly a little disappointed, I tuck my mobile into my pocket and head inside. Even with the familiar company, however incoincidental this meeting is, this is somehow shaping up to be a terrible evening. The party hits full swing an hour later. With the host's opening remarks given, still no sign of her husband and the poor woman and the guests promptly fed, the band shifts into a melody livelier tune. Soon, laughter and rhythmic tapping of shoes fill the room, in all accordance to the lifting strands of music. It seems fun, I admit. Fascinating. At certain movements, the flurry of dancers making the music their own, almost with no care in the world. If I weren't so indisposed, I'd have joined the crowd for a song or two. There isn't a lack of invitations anyway, plenty of them. In fact, someone asked, with some asking for more than once. It's only my stubborn refusal that prevents me from joining them, and I can sing up. A single nod is all it takes. The evening would have been far more enjoyable for me. But the pride of my own silly hopes, the thought of being seen with one of them by him, curbs that. And as much as I hate to admit it, because doing so also means the outright acknowledgement of the douche's claims. That he has to be the one to tell me that is still sending my blood cold. I would have preferred someone more agreeable, less of an ass. It's a hard truth to swallow, especially when the very person at the center of it makes denial difficult. I can't even spare me a minute of his attention or a single glance at me the whole evening. Oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. Hey, Zachary might have spoken a word to me. The big guy's... Hell, Zachary might have even spoken a word to me. The big guy's busy covering the event to boot. But at least he manages to slip a conversation in between takes, or a small wave of his hand when he passes by. What's Ashton's excuse? He's been fitting in and out of the site the whole time. One moment he's hanging around a small group, and another he's hovering around the string band. Just a second ago, he's wolfing down some deviled eggs by the buffet table, and a glass of wine in hand. The next thing I know, he's gone. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he honestly doesn't want to be with any of his friends. Is it because of his boss is here? What's the big deal about that? It was never bothered me
I
before.
swear, the next person who asks, I'm dancing the night away with. Ashton can go fuck himself.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Her voice almost makes me jump. Too focused on the gobshite wandering around the ballroom and my own annoyance to notice. If she's heard any of my profanities, any of the profanities I've mumbled, or she's taken notice of my discomfiture, she makes no comment on it, merely greeting me with a smile when I turn my attention to her. Miss Hannah Wright gives off a whole different air when she's not speaking to an audience. Homely, a bit too friendly for my liking. But I guess that comes from being raised in such an environment and having to deal with pompous snood people. Though I suppose nothing can really change from years ago. I remember her carrying herself in the same manner during that one and only visit. Does she remember any of it? I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't. It's taken me a while myself. She probably met a lot of people as like little Becky through the years. Might have already forgotten about me or my parents. People like her thrive on connections after all. Nevertheless, I return her smile, awkward and stiff as it may be.
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Oh, you're fine, dearie. It's only really the parvenus, those who climb, that come to these parties all dolled up. Quite the black-haired beauty, isn't he?
It takes me a while to realize who she's talking about. Till Ashton walks by again, in closer proximity than any of the times he's gone by so this evening. Still without looking or acknowledging our way, though. Even Miss Wright speaks loud enough to catch the attention of any woman in
Who,
earshot.
Ash?
You know, you really shouldn't have turned down those offers. If I wasn't married, I'd happily go dancing with those young men. But you said a name. Ash. That's the exquisite lad you've been looking at all this time. I don't know him, and I'm the one hosting this party. That must mean you know each other. Is he your boyfriend then? Because that would explain those rejections.
This isn't the first time someone's made this assumption. Almost every student I've ever had in the past did. My co-workers, more often than not, assume he is. A few of my neighbors also think we're an item. Not that Ashton has ever reacted to those, he's been quite indifferent about it, in fact. Still, the heat of the blush creeps to my cheeks. Denial ready, and despite wanting it to happen so badly myself.
What? No, that's ridiculous. He isn't my boyfriend.
Such a violent reaction. A simple no would have sufficed. Many here would be happy to hear it.
And I haven't been looking at him.
I do my best to summon a straight face before her good cheer. But before her good cheer, it easily falters.
That's right. You've been staring. Quite heatedly, in fact. Although I'm not sure if you look like you want to kiss him or kill him.
Little column A, little column B. I mean, she's got a fiery temper. It's a Scot in her.
It's more the latter currently.
Just don't go murdering him on my property. I don't want to walk into a room and suddenly find a body there.
It's infectious in a way. No sooner I find myself enjoying our chat than more than I imagine myself to. Though her attention briefly wavers at one point, she remains a good companion. Even more once I mention who my parents are. Her face quickly lights up and the fondness graces her face. Despite meeting from several years ago in a short one. But of course, there are some things we really can't avoid talking about. After all, one of the things I remember her asking me the moment she spotted little Becky in the room, do you have a boyfriend? In retrospect, it's an odd thing to talk about as children. When there are loads we could have started with.
Yes, oh, I remember you. You were the cutest little thing with glasses. And when we met, you were having boy troubles with this lad called something with an A.
I believe I still have those clothes she gave me. Chosen all so I could impress him. And even back then, Ashton's always been denser than a rock. And that one attempt to get him to notice backfired spectacularly. Sure, he's keen, he's a detective, for heaven's sake, but feelings, more often than not, escape him.
What was it again? Aaron, Alan, Adele, Albert, Alexander, Andrew?
Which makes this whole talk all the more embarrassing. The more names she lists off, the more my discomfort grows until my smile turns into a grimace. What will she think of me? Here she is married to a man who most probably she most probably loves at that. While I'm still stuck in the same place, yearning for the same person.
Ashton! Ash! That man is that boy! The same one. Oh, goodness me, after all these years! I can see why, though. He's quite dashing.
You don't really need to announce it to everyone with an earshot, you know?
Keep it. I'm so sorry, but it really is cute.
She says that before a short moment, a hint of pity flickers in her eyes. I take the chance to change subjects before anything more can be said over the matter. I haven't figured out how I feel about the things Luke told me. Now I'm getting dragged into a similar discussion.
This is a nice party, Miss Wright.
And to give myself a little bit of a reading break, let's see what's new here. Let's see, we have this. That's more of this stuff. Oh, that's a cute picture. Okay, and next up is... Alright, that's the locker incident. That was an interesting one. Oh, that's a book incident too. That's a good illustration. Okay. Alright, we're all cleared up now. So this is a nice part. Why am I reading that? To be frank, I doubt she'll be willing to pass this up. The topic has already captured her attention.
Please, Anna's fine. We're friends of a sort, aren't we? We must be friends, seeing as I know about your little infatuation, Becky.
Oh, God.
Don't you worry, dearie. You'll have your happy ending yet.
Will I? I mean, it's pretty clear who he's gonna end up with this playthrough. There's a possibility to hook them up, I think, but...
I'm not too concerned about that, am I? That's not what I'm looking for.
Kinda is, kinda not.
Oh? And what makes you think that? Doesn't everybody want their happy ending?
The idea of happy endings sounds like they're just for fairy tales. And they are, sorta. I don't think you can just sit around, trapped in some tower and hope for the best. If you love them, you have to fight for it, right? You're not just going to sit there and hope that everything will just fix itself on its own. Like everything, you have to work at it.
Hypocrisy, that's what this is. How dare I preach about something when that is exactly what I've been doing. And then I go and act like I'm entitled, as if I'm entitled to any of it. By that virtue, by virtue of us growing up together, he must return whatever I feel for him. That he's not allowed to look around at another, because I'm the one who has stayed by his side for the longest. When in the first place, Ashton has always been his own person. This is something I cannot force on him. I can only hold on to these. Take care of it until the time comes I can confess to him. Great. If he reciprocates, but if he can't, if he won't, Selfish. I've been too selfish. How laughable that Luke's words still strike true up till now.
But what do I know?
I'm sure the daughter of the two greatest professors I've ever known is smart enough to know what she's talking about.
At one point, maybe I would have easily agreed with that. However, the past weeks have also seen changes in the way I view things. As nice as these things sound, it turns out whatever I previously knew may not be the truth. It may be true for other people or myself. It is sobering and almost funny how things I might have said about syrup, things I might have said with much certainty before, I now have doubts muddying each of them. But then there will be time to mull that over later, because when a hush suddenly descends in the room, a whole different issue rears. Especially when fucking Luke, strides into the now quiet ballroom, fashionably late and oozing with the same pompous mien he always carries around with him.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party? I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the right mansion.
Before long, Hannah leaves my side and joins him, and it doesn't take a genius to piece it all together.
Welcome, one and all, to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are all ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness.
Pompousness would be more the word I'm looking for.
So enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses, as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone.
His attitude, the manner he carries himself around people, his unfamiliarity with that part of the city, of fucking course. Should have known. Though I'm partly at fault here, tabloids and gossip columns have never been really my thing. I should have also expected that whenever Luke fucking Wright is some sort of drama will surely follow. He seems the kind of person who revels in it. Figures it'll find him on his own. Figures it'll find him on his own, even when he's not asking for it. It happened amidst a round of applause and hoots. That people lagging behind the crowd they gathered doesn't catch on, until the cheers turned into several scandalized gasps.
I am pregnant with your little bastard. You promised me you'll take responsibility. God damn it, Luke. I finally got you to talk to me after months of silence, and you do this to me.
What do you mean you're pregnant with? Luke, is this true?
Lies and slander, woman! Security! Johans, take her out of here before she makes an even bigger fool of herself!
No, you do not do this to me. I was so ready to leave my stupid oaf of a husband. I told you to leave that damn wife of yours. Look at her. Does she look like she wants a baby? Does she look like she could take care of a baby?
The commotion doesn't go further, despite the drunk woman appearing like she has plenty of more venom to spill. In a little while, security shows up and escorts her out. Apparently, she's the chief inspector's wife, too. As if this whole thing can't get any more fucked up than it already is. What a mess. Damage has been done, and beyond the repercussions this will bring, I'm more worried about Hannah. Maybe Luke, too, in part. I've never seen a man hide behind his self-importance. I've seen the man hide behind his self-importance, and it is someone who cares for the people who stand beside him, no matter how questionable it is now. After all, no anger is worse than that of a scorned woman. And Hannah, well, as refined and well-mannered as she is in front of the guests, I'm not sure how she'd be all that willing to tolerate this. Her party, her home, her husband, and that woman just dared to walk all over it. Yet when I glance at her, there is only defeat. A weary slump in her shoulders, a certain depth to her breathing. Like the fight she has already been drained out of her long ago. I don't know since I don't know since when this has been going on. I don't know either of them well to judge myself. I'm simply an outsider who's happened to have some kind of connection to both of them. But the air of a person who wishes for respite, it's all easy to see in her, as she quietly watches the commotion carrying on around her. In a moment before I can think it through, I'm pulling her out to the side and waving Zachary over
This is
me.
a real oh, hey, Miss Wright.
Hello, Zachary. I told you to call me Hannah. Did I not?
Yeah, you did.
Admittedly, the air of familiarity between them catches me off guard. I won't put it past Hannah. Her standing in society compels her to keep up appearances. Be nice to everyone sort of thing. While Zachary's growing client base sometimes calls for rubbing elbows with the rich and famous. Although the way it appears, this one seems to be going beyond maintaining the facade of work. I wonder how this friendship came to be. I'd ask, but we're starting to attract some curious eyes. Most of them probably searching for more gossip to add to, or something to add to the fuel on the fire. Thankfully, there's no need to explain it to Zachary. He's aware of the situation all too well.
So this is what you called me for? We gonna get Hannah out of here?
That'd be great.
Soon he's leading the three of us out of the ballroom. Anyone who dares speak or approach our way, I shut down with sharp glares. In a few steps, we're out. Away from the commotion and the suffocating tension. I don't stay long with them though. Even if I want to, Ashton's still somewhere in that crowd, and I gotta go back from it at least. No matter how much the idea of that alone sends an unpleasant twinge in my stomach.
Hey, I gotta go back in there. Completely forgot my bag like an airhead, and I'll see if I can tag Ash on the way out. You'll be fine here, right, Hannah?
Not to worry, dearie. I'll just be right here.
Zach will be with you if you need anything.
Besides, it seems like Zachary can handle this without another person helping out. In fact, for some reason, I got the strange impression that I might be intruding on something if I elect to remain. It's better to entrust it to someone she's comfortable with. Although, it might be a little inappropriate considering what's transpired. A smile worms its way to my lips as I leave. Good on them, I suppose. I guess I semi-hooked them up, which is cool with me, because, she deserves a loving guy, and Zach's a good dude. The chatter Chatter has exploded throughout the whole ballroom once I return. Worried murmurs, clicks of tongues, inappropriate gossip fill the thick tension in the room. Most of them haven't left the premises, and they're already talking about it. Tomorrow it'll be in the news for sure. In every local broadsheet, a tabloid in Luxborn. No wonder Luke's knee-deep in damage control. With the scandalous woman gone, he has turned his attention on the media covering the event. Though so far he isn't faring well with the cleanup in the cleanup department.
Now, people, we all know the drill. I'm sure you're all itching to get a start on those articles.
Good thing Zachary isn't here. I can't imagine a man with his temperament dealing with someone like him.
But if I read one word, see one picture about this come morning, even a single shot of the bloody wine glass the harlot held, you will all lose more than your jobs.
Luke's diatribe goes on for another 20 minutes, and after which he excuses himself out of the area. There's a brief lull and a reluctant pause before the place comes to a stir again, but shortly the buzz returns again. Dancers have once again taken to the floor, and their guests excited. Talks begin anew. But I couldn't care less about any of it now. Simply standing in the middle of this is already giving me a headache. When the shock fades, I feel just bone tired. I've accomplished nothing of what I was coming here for. Apparently, Ashton's disappeared sometime during the commotion. I'm not sure what pisses me off more. that he ignored me the whole evening and just and might have just left without saying anything, or he obviously had some other motives for being here. Can't he at least trust his own friends for
You
that?
didn't have to hide it from me.
This is the last straw. No longer in the mood, I grab my bag and head out, more than ready to end this disastrous night by as early as possible. As it turns out, the night isn't done with me yet, because no sooner than the porter closed this door behind me, I found myself standing in the foyer with one Luke Wright. No sign of Hannah or Zachary, just him and his agitated clicks of his shoes make, while he treads around the empty room. Away from the media's prying eyes and their guests' judging stares, it's easy to glean how much the scandal has shaken him. Not to the point where he's utterly lost his composure. He appears to have mastered himself enough, though, not to. I'm gonna save, though, just in case. This could be a bad situation for our girl. Okay. But an ample opening is there for a nervous edge to show in the lines of his shoulder.
What do you know?
The man is not as tough as he makes himself out to be. Sure, I've seen this before, briefly in that 1 second in the hallway to school. A strange matter. However, to witness this out in the open, behind closed doors, this is the real Luke Wright. Though maybe it's because he hasn't noticed my presence yet. He's busy as he is with thinking. If he is aware, I doubt he'll be acting like this. His pride is one thing he will always wear with him. Even now, when I place a gentle hand on his shoulder, he whirls around to face me. There's a second long moment of anger flashes in his face. This flashes across his features before dissolving into confusion. He tucks it away as quickly as he can, but it does nothing to change the impression that I've built of the man in my head.
Daisy, must you be everywhere?
We've only met 3 times, Luke. Quit the dramatics. Besides, shouldn't you be aware of who gets invited to your party?
If I was, there wouldn't be any of that scene tonight.
Yeah, well, if you weren't so fucking drunk, you would know.
That munter wouldn't even get an inch within this property. I'd ban her off Luxborn if I could.
Yeah, I wonder why you do that. Could it be you were having an affair? You do seem prone to those, my friend. He probably pawns everything off on their servants and Hannah. Pompous elite douche.
Did you just come out here to lecture me about it?
So I could give a good damn about you, man.
Because, Daisy, I can already feel one coming tomorrow. I don't need to hear one from you tonight.
You are a very unpleasant man.
So I've been told. Will that be all? If so, I suggest you go back and join every bloody goss in that room.
Not everything. As unpleasant and frustrating as talking to this man is, he deserves the benefit of the doubt at least. The questions and criticisms aren't lacking, of course. But in this instance, there is only one thought that comes to mind. Not really sure what I want to say to him on this one. I do know that after I'm done with this section, I'm gonna go to bed for the night. That's for damn sure. We'll figure this out in a second. So I'm just gonna figure this out. Let's see, what do we want to say to him? Let's save, just in case. 'Cause I don't actually want to make him feel better, honestly. Do I care if it's true? Because, like, I don't actually care if it's true, honestly. I don't think she would care if it's true. And I don't really want to tell him he should be with his wife, because honestly, he's an asshat. I could do both and see what happens. I actually kind of want his affection to drop some. I don't really like that she is getting along with this guy. Nobody really lurking in the chat to ask, so I guess I'll just pick. Sure, let's just fucking test him. Is it true?
Is there some truth to it then?
To his credit, he does appear extremely offended and repulsed by the notion. His mortified expression alone answers the question, but I want to hear it from him. I want to hear it from him, even if he takes nothing. He takes nothing short of a derisive tone just to answer that.
Daisy? Oh, Daisy.
Yo, what's up, Speed? Welcome to the stream, man. How'd your stream go? You just showing off new emotes to me? Oh shit, that lighting is bright. I got my 2 new finally approved too, bro. Yep, welcome to the stream. I'm not gonna try to say your whole name. I've been reading for like 5 hours now. I really should be winding down.
If you believed every
I don't know how
squirrel that
much
came
longer this is
along,
gonna be.
I'd have 100 children already. Do me a favor and give me a break. I get enough of this false shite from the tabloids.
Well, I'm sorry for asking. I just wanted to hear it from you, douche.
And now that you've heard it, does it change anything?
No, I still think you're an asshat.
Are we going to start seeing miracles now? A solution to poverty? Pigs flying in the sky!
Is some friendly concern such a hard thing to comprehend for you?
I'm working on it. I still got a little ways to go. I got like two more paths after this one. He pauses at that. Suddenly, he doesn't know what to do with his hands, and in the end, he simply stuffs them back in his pockets and sulks. I'm not too shocked that this caught him off guard. There probably weren't many people who would tell him that. He's a difficult man to get along with. Zachary wouldn't want to be anywhere near him, despite the man having the patience of a saint. Ashton can tolerate, maybe? I highly doubt he could keep up with Luke. Dealing with him requires more than patience. It's a huge mystery why I still bother. When the awkwardness passed, mostly coming from him, he merely glances.
I don't need your stupid friendship.
No, I don't want to be your fucking friend anyway, you asshole.
Good heavens! I really want to ask how Hana's able to deal with you.
He's interested. I can tell from the frown he shoots this way. Likely wondering how I ended up knowing her. I'd humor him any other day, probably tease him about it, and keep him guessing just to annoy him if I'm in a good mood. But my own patience nears his ends. Hey, what's up, Princess Taylor? Welcome to the stream. After Ashton, there's a whole fiasco here, and now him. He won't even answer my own questions properly. Why should I answer his? Moreover, There are other matters more important than that. His marital problems, first and foremost. His attitude follows right after. Concerns aside, I can't help with those. Those things only he can fix, and he definitely not by standing around here. No, he wishes he was Wesker. Yeah, I bet you are, man. Oh, shit, I'm tired as fuck. What time is it there? It ain't even that late for you. It's like almost 2 for me. It's 1:37. So with a slight wave of my hand, I end it right there and walk away from him. Although I can't resist the urge to look back before I leave. If only for one last look at the man he really is. But the instant I turn my gaze to him, I see it. Oh, shit. Looming, hovering over his shoulders, drawn to him like a moth to flame. Like the first time I stepped inside this place in search of Isabel. He was there too, wasn't he? A man alone with his wife and another person, Miss McCullough? And that shadow, no? A woman now. Her. No longer a dark blur. Terror rushes through every vein in my body. Crippling sensation gripping every part of me, while she stares at me with a glare filled with nothing but hate and venom. It's like staring at the eyes of a woman I unknowingly robbed of something precious. I try to say something, a warning. Before I can gather my wits and voice it out loud, someone shuts the door behind me. As if to keep outsiders away from the secrets this mansion possesses. The brush of the fresh air against my cheek does little to dampen the chill in my bones. By now, the sensation, the fear, and disquiet leaves me. It leaves whenever I see her. It's familiar enough for me. Already, it's made home in my nerves. I don't even notice my trembling hands until I cross my arms across my chest. The cold from the tip of my finger seeps to the thick material of my shirt. God, this is a horror game. This is called The Letter. It is a horror visual novel. Choose your own adventure with a little bit of quick time events. And a lot of reading for your girl. Neither of it helps bring people together in some semblance of coherent thought in my head. But I know I should.
Someone has to tell that douche.
I start walking back before fear can cripple me again. It's not wise. Returning, that is, especially with what happened. But Hannah's still an old friend, and Luke doesn't deserve whatever misfortune is that letter might bring him. I just can't leave those two in there. Isabella's right. She's real, and there's something that she wants from everyone who has read that.
Becca, where'd you go off to?
If you're done here, let's go. I'll get you back to the city. My mistake. The second his voice cuts through the crisp night air is I've allowed my annoyance to get the better of me. Fuming, purpose forgotten, I whirl around and march towards him. One accusation after another piles on the tip of my tongue, ready to be hurled at the moment. There is no hesitation holding me back when I fire at him. That straight face he keeps as I do does nothing to help temper my anger either. It only makes me want to slap more sense and some more sense into him.
Shouldn't I be the one asking you that?
It is very interesting, actually. If you're into visual novels in any sense, or just a good story, I definitely recommend this. I'm not quite done with this. I think I'm about two-thirds through her story, maybe 3/4. I'm not sure. And then there's two more lines after that I got to go through. So I probably got at least another few days of this in me.
Becca, I've been waiting here the whole time since that mess in the hall. I told you I hate parties like...
And before that, where have you been the entire evening?
Right then and there, I might have forgiven him if he had shown an ounce of remorse for leaving me like that. Maybe he could have looked away, maybe given me a sign that my assumptions might be right. He doesn't even need to put them into words. A single gesture of confirmation is all I need. Rather, what I get is the same impassive look. He does this whenever he can't disclose anything. He does this whenever he's lying. In the face of it, amid the thick tension, the frustration and a frustrated huff is the only thing I can
Be
summon.
that way. Fine. Suit yourself.
No more words. After everything I've seen and heard tonight, I'm already too exhausted from those. So without speaking any further, I simply walk past him and stump over to his car. Although before I can pull the door open, he calls out, one hand outstretched, gentle weight on my shoulder.
Wait, Becca.
He pauses, his brows furrowed, his lips curving into a slight frown. I can almost see the gears turning in his head while he tries to piece together everything he wants to say. Before, perhaps I might have waited patiently for those. He's not a man fond of using words to express himself. More often than not, any gesture of honesty will only come out in a blunt and coarse when enforced. Today, for one reason or another, I simply can't summon that forbearance.
Ashton, if you're just going to waste my time again...
Becca, listen. I don't know how else.
That much is obvious. Why don't you just take the whole bloody night? Go on. I can wait until next year. Better yet, why don't you just keep it all to yourself like you always do? It's not like...
Rebecca, will you hear me out first?
He's in a bad mood, man. Seeing a ghost, bad mood. It happens. The silence I can offer him, but whether I believe what he's about to say is still up for a debate. A very long debate.
I honestly don't know how else to put this. I'm aware your parents have some kind of history with Hannah Wright, and somehow you're friends with her. But you should stay away from these people for now, especially the husband.
Who? Luke?
Is that a Mr. X? Fran made of Mr. X icon? That's nice. I like that, Fran. His expression deepens into a scowl at my mention of the name. But whatever opinion he has, he doesn't immediately voice. Still, something about it greatly displeases him, and evident in the stiff tone of his assumes.
He's bad news.
No, I know he's bad. He's a philanderer at best. What does he have to do this or care to explain your reasons? Huh. I think I'm gonna go with care to explain your reasons.
Care to explain your reasons?
I've not meant for it to sound as harsh as it does, but anger and frustration have never been a good match in me, particularly in nights like this. I'm not surprised when Ashton jerks back as if I've struck him. For a fleeting moment, something akin to hurt darts across his features. His eyes narrow and his hands closing tightly into a fist at his sides. Then swiftly he glances away and shifts his focus to the line of trees nearby, like an answer can be gleaned in the dark expanse.
I'm really sorry, Becca.
What is it for? For the party? For the vague answers he continues to give? Does it include all those times before? Years worth of it? I don't doubt its sincerity. However, at the moment, the forgiveness he's asking isn't something I'm all too willing to hand, curious as I am. Frankly, it's a wonder I could... It's frankly a wonder how I could keep myself from raising my voice at him.
We'll talk about this tomorrow. And you better have a proper answer for me by then.
There's a brief hesitation before I step away. A short moment of wanting to say more and of waiting if he had anything else to add. He's only silent, his eyes trailing at the distance. This is the last glimpse I'll see of him before I climb into his car. Door slams closed with the same force that as the anger I'm holding inside. Sound merely vanishes into the night unnoticed. He follows soon after, and shortly we're on our way back to the city. Yet even with the city lights bright welcoming us, the dense, somber air from the mansion still lingers. And that is the end of my voice, because goddamn my throat hurts. Yeah, I've been reading for 5 hours and 30 minutes, guys. I think it's time for me to call it a night. I do have to work in the morning. It's already almost 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'm gonna have to wrap this up. If this is your first time on my stream and you like what you're seeing, please hit that follow button. If you are looking to follow me outside of Twitch and YouTube's, you can find me on Twitter. I tweet frequently, as Speed and the rest of my friends from the Twitter spheres and Twitch spheres know. And sometimes I say something of interest. And if you're watching this on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. And until next time, my friends, remember to save often. You will live longer, as I am going to hit the save button right here. Because, yeah, I would forget to do that.